I wonder if the part of us that looks back and goes, oh, this little like tension and like cringy, what if that's just a little bit of regret and sadness over unrealized potential in the moment? What if that's just a little bit of like disappointment that, wow, we don't show up on this planet fully formed and enlightened. Like we literally have to go through all the awkward, weird stages on the way. And what if looking back and just having a little bit of regret, like a little bit of but a bittersweet regret, the kind where you look back and you go, oh yeah, I used to do it like that, and look at what I can do now. What if there's just a subtle shift that we're not glossing over the fact that maybe we feel a little sad about it, maybe there's a bit of disappointment, maybe there's a little bit of regret, but we're also not going too far in the other direction of self-judgment and shame and cringy and rejection and othering. What if these earlier versions of ourselves need to be loved, need to be loved and encouraged and shown that was then, this is now, in the same way that I'm sure my future self is going to look back on me and be like, oh, Yvette, you did that. And not only that, but you did it publicly. Don't you feel terrible? And then I go, no, no, because really, this is one of the things that often helps me is I think to myself, I'm willing, I'm willing to be an imperfect, kind of awkward, not getting it right example of what it means to learn and grow. I'm not here to model any kind of arrival anywhere because that would be too freaky for me. But if I can model for you the process of learning and growth, that's it. The process of trying to come back to my heart whenever I get it wrong. The process of reflecting on how I did something and then being like, okay, well, these things worked, but these things really didn't. So how am I going to shift and change to make it better? That's what I'm willing to model. And that's how I parent. That's how I work. That's how is like, I think it's the best any of us can do is to be works in progress and love up whatever stage we're in. It's the quickest way to get ourselves to the next stage, But I hear this so often, these moments of awareness that also bring up grief, I think is really useful. Like bring up deep grief, like, oh my goodness, I wish I had known this earlier. I would have done it so differently. Like that's a really heart-opening kind of grief. I think it's bittersweet and beautiful because it means that we're not staying rigid. We are getting flexible. We're opening to possibility in life. And also, we don't expect ourselves to grandiosely be on some pedestal all the time. We're allowed to just be normal, ordinary humans. And from that place, we're able to build really authentic connections with each other. Going back into our memories and actively working to love up our younger selves is absolutely foundational to this kind of work. Absolutely foundational, because if I'm still feeling shame and judgment about things that I have in the past, I'm carrying a certain kind of rigidity and avoidance in my system, and it makes me less available to myself and other people now. And I can tell you, a million stories. I used to have a very, very anxious, avoidant, preoccupied, anxious attachment style. And I can think about a relationship where this is really early in my life, like in my early 20s, late teens even. I was in this relationship and I didn't have a lot of awareness. I didn't really understand the trauma of my childhood and the things like, we don't know. And I had this crush on this guy and I was freaking obsessive. I remember a day in college where I called his dorm room 25 times. I mean, like you guys, I look back I think we dated for 3 months and then he blocked me and avoided me. I was stalker-like. I don't know what was I mean, I do know now that I had so much anxiety. And I also had this idea like, oh, no, no, you're just misunderstanding. Like, if we can just talk this through, if we can just build understanding, we're going to be fine. Like, I don't know why you're avoiding me. And I mean, like, I was in recruitment mode. This poor man, I still think about him. I still think about him now. I'm like, he must think that I am the most psycho person out there because I was. Okay. And I can see that part of me. I stalked his dorm room. I knew his class schedule. I was like going to insist that we were having a relationship. Like I was not hearing no. I was like, for sure, he's just misunderstanding. Psycho, okay? And I say that in the most loving way, in the most loving way possible, but super, super anxious attachment. And everything would get very, very big emotionally. And then I would need like a lot of reassurance. So I look back on my younger self now. I could look back on her with like cringy shame and like, oh my goodness, and rejection. And instead, I just want to go back. I want to go back in time and I want to find young little Yvette in her early 20s and give her a big hug. Like, I want to say to her, hey, let me help you. I know now what was going on. Yeah, let me help you understand where all of that fear was coming from, where all of that anxiety was coming from. You make sense to me. You make sense to me. Attachments for you were never secure. They actually came with a lot of fear, and you were mistaking fear for attraction. Let me help you now. I get you. I love you. Look at how hard you were working to try and get something that you needed. Look at all of your good self-esteem that you were so certain that if this person just knew you, they would love you. Like that's really healthy self-esteem. Now, let me help you handle that a little differently, right? Let's now also include what the other person might be needing. Let's also include a little bit of calibration. What if we just regulate our nervous systems a little bit first and get a secure home base and then try to have a relationship from that place? So I can find times in my life literally that I'm like not like nuts, but I mean that in a very, very loving way. And I can also find that I overcorrected from there. I overcorrected from completely anxious, stalkerish, you know, all the way over to dismissive avoidant. Like I got to like, I don't want a relationship with anybody. I don't trust any of you. I don't want anybody close to me. Intimacy makes me want to throw up. Like I went through a whole stage of there's not anybody trustworthy on this planet, and I need to be isolated and alone. And I'm not letting anybody in, and I'm not melting anything inside of me. And so I can find the parts of me that also got quite very, very defended, very isolated, very lonely. And you know what? That's actually not a good combination for me because I'm a very introverted person. And so I can go down a hole and out into the woods and you'll never see me again. And I'm still going to feel quite happy and regulated, right? So I want to look back at some of these parts of myself and use them as a stepping stone to shared humanity. That's me saying, I get it. I really get what it's like when you're in an obsessive love relationship. I know that place. I understand from the inside out what's going on there. I have a roadmap. I know how to get out of that. And I also know what it's like when you don't want to trust anyone, let anybody in, and you certainly don't want to reclaim your feelings because it's too vulnerable and you might cry for 6 months, which I probably did at some point in my life. I also know that place. And every one of those experiences, and whatever multitude of other ones, the point is to become conscious. The point is to wake up and understand what's happening, to be able to feel what hasn't been felt, to come back and go, wow, this is the human experience. I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one who does this. I'm actually experiencing an archetypal pattern right now that humans experience. Let me become aware of it. Let me understand this archetypal pattern from the inside out so that I can also be there for other people who are encountering this for the first time. That is the seed of empathy. Now, if I can't reclaim those parts of myself, if I can't reclaim grief, for example, which is what we're talking about, you and me today, then when other people are there, I will want to fix them, right? I will want to change it. I will want to avoid it because I will not want to settle there yet. So everything you're describing today about being with yourself, feeling, remembering your younger parts, going back through your memory system and noticing what's there. I just want to offer you that I see this as the sacred work of heart opening and the work that is needed if we're going to be truly empathic or nonviolent or attuned. We learn to love those parts of ourselves first, and then we can extend it to other people.